with authors galore, and she interviewed the authors on the books they wrote. The books of all kinds. The books of all kinds.
This time around on Author's Corner, what an intriguing book this is. What a really good book this is. And very, very clever. Dr. Richard Lee wrote a book with his son, The Friendly Forest. And the forest is so interesting because of what this book is, I think, filled with. It's an adventure in adverbs, adjectives, and it's really a journey he took with his son throughout the country and the way they pulled this together. It's so fascinating. Thanks so much for coming on.
My pleasure, Kate. Thank you so much for having me.
So first of all, let's talk about, how does a dentist, you've had this great career going as a dentist, how does a dentist come up with this idea, which, like I said, I would have thought when I picked up this book that you were like an English professor, or
you're so sweet. Thank you.
I really would have, the way you pulled it together. So how did this all start?
You know, it's funny because, well, it started maybe about 7 years ago when Brandon was, so my son Brandon is my co-author. It started about 7 years ago when he was having a little bit of trouble with his, I guess he was entering the first grade, and he had a little bit of trouble with, reading and writing. His strengths were always math and science, similar to myself. And if I told you honestly, from years ago, if someone said to me years ago that I would ever have written anything that's even worth publishing, I would not have believed them, just because that's just not my strong suit. But as I've evolved and matured, I kind of really felt like it was a journey I loved taking with Brandon. He inspired me to want to do this, along with the rest of my family, in America. You know, there's just so many different aspects that this book helped us tie together, I guess. And it started with, in a way, our last name, which is spelled L-Y, which is a little unique, because coming out of Vietnam, for some reason, we just didn't spell it the way the average person thinks Lee. I guess it's usually L-E-E, L-I. But anyway, it's just the years of, in a way, mispronunciation of our last name that got me kind of thinking. So this is honestly years in the making, correcting people every time they call me Dr. Lie or Private Lie, whatever you want to call me. Anyway, so it's just, and I used to correct people by just saying how it's, if you put our last name behind, any adjective, it becomes an adverb. So that's how I kind of described it. I ended up using emails that did that. My custom license plates have it. So anyway, so that kind of just started the process of thinking of how we could, it was really to inspire Brandon to write a little bit better and be a little more creative. But I feel like as it evolved, I felt like it could maybe help other people as well.
Yeah, so tell us about the story in the book.
Okay, so the reality is it's a little autobiographical because almost every all the characters in the book are significant people that we've crossed in our journey. And including my parents who are in the book, they're in heaven. My Uncle Richard, who I got my name from, who was a Marine that met my family in Vietnam. And anyway, there's just almost every character has its own significance in our development, I guess. And so I kind of wanted to honor them as well. And unfortunately, my parents have both passed away. And Brandon, he didn't really have a chance. He never met my dad, which really is a shame because he would have been an excellent grandfather to Brandon. He met my mom, and within a year, before Brandon's first birthday, she actually passed away. So he doesn't really have much recollection of her. So I think the book kind of helps reinforce like what great parents they were to us. And so it's my way of honoring them.
And so when they're listening to our story, and I mentioned the fact that it's so clever, the 50 adverbs and the other things that, you came up with in the book, and as you were explaining, what can they expect? We're not going to tell them everything, but give us a little bit of the story.
So basically the backdrop of the story, not only Brandon, but even our puppies, Muffin, my first dog, I guess she's in heaven with my parents now, but she was one of my she's devotedly in the book. Brandon's fearlessly. I'm richly, because that's my name. Anyway, but it's a little bit of a play on, like words and what people think of when they think of these adverbs, I guess, and adjectives. But like for myself, right? Because when people think rich, they generally think wealth and things of that nature. But I think, it could be measured in so many different ways, so that, when people look at their lives and they think, it's funny, recently there was a commercial that came on TV that I felt like was so significant, and it kind of played into what our thought process was when we were thinking about some of these words. And with richly, like sometimes because we think along the aspect of wealth, I think sometimes we lose sight of some of the other riches we have in our life. Mainly it's really the experiences and the people that we have around us that I think enrich us. And it's so, basically I get lost a little bit, and that's, kind of a reflection of my life, Sometimes you don't fully appreciate the things that are in front of you. I've been blessed with my greatest parents, greatest dog. Now I have my greatest son, and I'm just surrounded by a lot of family and friends that have been invaluable in my development as a person. So anyway, but it's kind of like that, and because I get lost in the forest, I'm kind of counting on Brandon and devotedly Muffin to find my way back, I guess, or I'm trying to find my way back to them, and that's kind of the backdrop.
When children read the book, what do you hope they take away?
There's several aspects, actually. I think maybe just appreciating their lives, I think is first and foremost. I think sometimes it's always easy to think that, the grass is always greener on the other side. I think it's human nature, unfortunately, to want and to always think, that, sometimes, it's good to improve your lives, don't get me wrong. And, we are in the land of opportunity. So, you have a chance to better your life. But I think that sometimes if people just do some self-reflection on what they have, maybe things aren't as bad as they think. And, that's what I found with myself. I've been, like I said, so blessed if I just sit back and just look at my life in general. I've been, I always tell people I've been more lucky than good in life, but, here's my way of just, like a self-reflection, so hopefully the kids think that way. And the other aspect is to hopefully love our country. I think, I've been in the armed service for 31 plus years, so it's such an honor to serve the country. The country that gives us all these freedoms and opportunity. And like I said, my family came here with the shirts on their back and was able to rebuild, their lives and to give my brother and I an opportunity at a future, and now our children as well. So I almost feel like sometimes it gets lost how fortunate we are to be in this great country.
Yeah, and thank you for your service. And again, U.S. Army Reserve Dental Officer for so many years, right? And you've served since 1994. And when you first jumped in, you and I were talking about this, you were an Army medic. Did you ever think, and you look at, your practice now, your general dentist practice that you have there in Long Island, did you ever think your career would have blossomed in this way?
Honestly, no. It's funny. The Army actually gave me an opportunity. My mom, in reality, I'm always kind of more of a people pleaser. So I kind of always try to, my mom always wanted to become a doctor in the family. So I told her I'll be a dentist, because the dentist would like a death. I don't know. It was a little naive way of thinking of things. Anyway, it was to mainly appease her. Because I always thought, I could be an FBI agent, a firefighter, something heroic, Anyway, but because I kind of went the practical route, because I felt like my grades warranted maybe doing something in medicine, I felt like it satisfied her, but the Army, the reality is the Army actually gave me an opportunity to become a dentist. They paid for my dental school, and then all I had to pay back was 4 years of active service, which was totally an honor to do. And I got to see so many different parts of the world that I would never, I would honestly never have visited, including, South Korea, Iraq. I was stationed at the Pentagon. So my career has taken me to a lot of different places that, I had a lot of good experience.
Wow, what a great testament to what it means to serve. And you can get this book, by the way, The Friendly Forest, on Amazon, wherever great books are sold. Easy to find, The Friendly Forest. What a great book you pulled together with your son. I think it's so interesting, and it's got to be just thrilling for Brandon too. So thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, it was my pleasure. Once again, thank you for having me. You've been a great host.